Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers Pregame, presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me live in the Xfinity Mobile studio, it is the one and only Petey. It's Steve Peters. What's going on tonight, my friend?
I'm just happy to be talking Flyer hockey again. This is back-to-back weekends, but I was talking to Brenna, the producer, before, and this is the A crew today. No offense to Steve, because Steve was outstanding. With Bill back inside the Xfinity studio, and I'm looking forward to talking some Flyers.
Steve is excellent. I was very happy to be able to put together Steve and Steve. It's part of the reason I wanted you to last week. I thought that was fun, but we have another game here tonight as the Flyers continue their homestand against those Minnesota Wild. And, well, we all knew what this was going to mean when we saw the schedule. It was just a question of Jett Luchanko would make the team or not. And it was going to be, we thought maybe, Luchanko v. Buium in a showdown of controversial 2024 draft picks. But when we get to the lineup, we will see. Perhaps not. Jett Luchanko, one of the scratches tonight, Petey. But because we have you here and we don't have you every single game, just wanted to get your take on what you've seen through 4 games from the Orange and Black thus far.
You know, I think that there's been a lot of good things. And this is what we talked about when we mentioned little wins. And you wanted to improve in some areas and see some positive things by the Flyers. And I think you've seen that. I think there's still more to come. And I think with Michkov getting his first goal in the last game, I think that was a key step moving forward. I think they were able to get an opportunity off the rush, and that's good for this team. I think that will bode well tonight. You saw that Cates Brink line. I will tell you this: I've had the opportunity to look around a lot of teams in the league, and that line right now, I don't know. Like, they can play in any situation at any time against anybody. And it just gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling as a coach that, you've got a group of guys that you can put out at any time. This has been the other big thing that I want to talk about, Bill, and we're going to get to goaltending, but that's been better. So the little things are coming. There are little improvements around this Flyer lineup. Hey, we're not jumping up and down yet. One regulation win through 4, but this is some positive steps in the Flyer team.
Yeah, that's the with the small sample size of 4 games, they start out on the road, like a couple of good goaltending performances, one not so great, but it's hard to be like, oh yeah, they're 1-2-1 and they look better than last year, but they do. I do think there are things that have improved. There's definitely things they have to work on. It was never going to be a finished product the second week of October, the second week of the season. It's going to take a while for, I think, Rick Tockett's message and systems to really get clicking, to find chemistry on lines that aren't the Cates line, because that one it's freaking awesome. Letting my imagination run. Like, what if it is just a great line? Like, what if they are just this good and you can play them against anybody? And we'll see how that goes as the season goes. They will have probably a really tough matchup tonight, because if I'm going to match them at home, it's going to be up against the Kaprizov line. So we'll see how that goes. So let's take a look at tonight's projected lineup, and we can see it looks like Couturier, Konechny, and Michkov are staying together. Of course, Cates, Brink, and Forster. That would leave Dvorak, Tippett, and Zegras on that third line together. I started to see a little bit out of that line in the last game. Want to see if they can keep it going. And the big changes, we have Luchanko and Grebenkin both out as Abels and Delorier come in onto the fourth line with fourth line staple Garnett, Hathaway. Not a ton of changes except for at the bottom, but it is 2 rookies coming out for Rodrigo Abels, who had a great camp and is only factored into 1 game thus far, and tough guy Nick Delorier comes in for Nikita Grebenkin, who had a really, really rough one against the Jets. That was if there was only going to be 1 change made, Petey, I assumed it would be this. He had some rough turnovers, just hasn't looked like the guy we saw in camp yet, and not shocking. He played 7 NHL games last year, but he's a rookie and still has a way to go.
Yeah, when you saw what he did early, and you're talking about those first few games, playing the second and third game, the Carolina and Florida games, you go, okay, you could see some things there. In the Carolina specifically, you thought you saw some speed, his ability to get to the net, some of those things that you wanted to see from Grebenkin. But with young players, sometimes it catches up with you. And his Winnipeg effort, it might be, and it's not effort. That's the wrong word. He had some bad puck luck and his ability to handle pucks coming off the wall and in key areas where you just need to make a play. And I think it's not going to hurt him to sit up in the press box and watch this one, because when you make those two big mistakes that end up in your net, you got to look and go, okay, we need to make a change here. And I clearly he's going to be a key player in this lineup for many years to come, because I like the way he plays. And I think there's a really big upside in Nikita Grabenkin. I just think it's time, when you have a young player that takes a little hit, a little bump, let him watch from up top. And especially when you have the ability to pull in, you got a veteran player with Delory and Apples. I think that they need to get another crack at the whip too. They need to get back in the lineup. And you know what? They bring something different than Grabenkin and Luchanko do. They bring a little bit of an edge and a little bit more of the physicality with Delory in the lineup. And maybe they can use that to their advantage against Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree. I'm a big fan of Nikita Grabenkin. I think it's just going to be a little bit of a process. He had some bad luck. I don't expect him to fumble a puck off the boards on a clean pass every single time. Like I expect him to make that play, and I think he expects himself to make that play. But each of the first two Winnipeg goals come off, turnovers near the blue line on pucks that should have been at least cleared, if not cleanly broken out by the rookies, Luchanko and Grabenkin. So they sit tonight. And that brings us to the defense tonight. We also have a change on the D. York is back. He played his first game the other night. He remains in alongside Sanheim. Sealer, Drysdale, the staples together. And Yinning Juleson. I believe Yinning is scratched, and it's going to be Zamula stepping in and playing for Noah, or playing next to Noah Juleson. And then in net, it'll be Dan Vladar. We'll talk about his early season in just a minute. But this defense also, it has been better than expected, especially when York was out the first few games. We still have no idea what's going on with Rasmus Ristolainen. And so you looked at this lineup and went, man, okay, I like at least the talent they have at forward. We'll see if they're able to put some things together. In net, it's a question mark, but it's got to be better than it was last year with the worst goaltending we've ever seen, like since 1983, really. And the defense was the big question mark. But even in a game they allow 5 goals, they hold Winnipeg to 15 shots on net. And I have liked what I've seen out of the defense for the most part thus far.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is a team that again, it struggled to keep the puck out of their net last year. You got to put some of that on their 5-on-5 structure changes from last year to this year. I think they're better. I think they're tighter around their net. We talked about them giving up more shots from outside, which is fine, but they're protecting the blue paint much better than they did a season ago. And coming into this game, they're 19th in the league in goals against, but you look at Minnesota's 29th from Minnesota. It's a team that the prided themselves on really good goaltending and good defending a year ago, and they're struggling to keep the puck out of the net. So right now, this looks like you put the check in the box for defending on the Philadelphia Flyers side prior to this game, and that's a big shift from what we've seen in years past. So I do think the defending is going to continue to get better for a couple of reasons. One, as they continue to play under Rick Tocchet and understand what he wants and when he wants it, I think that will help their system continue to grow. And I think with York getting back in the lineup, and now you're getting to see these pairs being set the way you wanted to have them in the preseason. I think that's going to bode well too as they continue to play together more often.
Yeah, and that third pair, especially until we figure out what's going on with Rasmus Ristolainen, if and when he's ever coming back. We have this feeling, Petey, when guys go away, they're never going to come back, because it just seems to happen with Pronger years ago. Now Ryan Ellis, and dudes just seem to disappear from this team. I started calling it Ellis Island because I thought it was funny. But it's eventually he'll get back, and then you'll see, okay, maybe we have a top 4. Maybe we have 5 or 6 guys we can depend on. Yegor Zamula working his way back into this lineup. I don't really know if it's about anything Yinning did. I think he's been pretty good in the minutes he's had. He played 20 minutes a couple of nights ago. But they do want to work guys into the lineup. They think it's early in the season. They don't want to just set and forget Yegor Zamula in the press box for 30 games or anything. So you're going to work guys into this bottom of the roster rotation. I think that's what's happening at forward as well. We want to make sure everyone stays playing and stays in the lineup, stays engaged with the team. And so we get these changes tonight. And after a 5-2 loss, why not change a couple of things up? And that gets us to tonight's goaltending, and it's going to be Dan Vladar. Fans in the building probably very happy about that. I bet you Adam S. in our super chats, in our chat box, very excited about Dan Vladar starting as well. Got a goals against just above 2. Save percentage, 933. I wonder if he can maintain that. Record 1-1-0. He is responsible for their only win on the season. Came in as a big question mark, and listen, he's made 2 starts. We've seen lots of goalies have 2 really good starts before, but after a season in which, Petey, the Flyers, it didn't seem like they could buy a save. They certainly, I mean, it was the worst goaltending in the league by a pretty wide margin. I am pretty excited about what we've seen out of Vladar thus far.
For his size, the way he plays in there gives you that sense of security. And I think what happens when you're on the bench for the Philadelphia Flyers, you look down and he makes one of those big saves, and he makes a save he should make. You go, okay, the pressure's maybe off a little bit. You can see your that weight lifted off their shoulders a little bit. Believe me, I've been on the bench when the goaltender doesn't make those saves, and it's just you've got no confidence, you've got no faith in your team, and you go, oh, we're going to lose again. I think Vladar gives them that confidence right now, and Ersson's given up 4 goals in each of his first 2 starts this season, where Vladar's given up 2 in each of his 2 starts. And by the way, undefeated at home. Maybe a little early, but he is undefeated at home. Let's see if that trend continues tonight. But Vladar's been good. And if he can continue to play like this throughout the season, those are those close games that the Flyers couldn't win a year ago. Maybe those are close games that they can win, or at least stay competitive in games, late in games, or stay competitive later in the season. So I know it's 2 games. I know I'll relax, but they've been 2 very positive, good games. And to see him get his 3rd start in 5 games, the coaching staff believes in him too.
Yeah, it was a little surprising when we saw him start the opener to the season.
Yeah.
We thought the idea was kind of, well, Ersson's the number 1. I think Vladar could get the opening night start and kind of have that leg up if he comes out and destroys the preseason. We thought he was better than Erss, but not enough to change the organizational mindset. But it's always, you have to remember with a new coach, this is his impression. These are the impressions you made in training camp. One guy was better, so he's going to get to start. I like that they're alternating to start the year. I like that there's going to be some internal competition, and we'll keep rolling with it until one guy really separates himself or one guy proves unplayable, really.
Yeah, but Bill, how long does that take? And my question, because I've seen it, you've seen it all around the league where you do that alternating thing. But at some point, you would think that Rick Tocchet and his staff have to go, okay, who gives us the best chance to win tonight? And is that Vladar against Seattle in a couple of nights? Depends on clearly how he's going to play today. But at some point, you would think if the 2 goals for Vladar and the 4 goals for Ersson continue, you might see them going to a decision that, yeah, maybe we're going to play this guy a couple in a row. And I still think this is going to be a team that relies on 2 goaltenders throughout the season. I really do. I think this is what this mix of goaltending was intended to do. I think that's what you're going to see. I don't think they're going to burn anybody out, but I would expect at some point in the near future, you're going to see a goaltender making 2 starts in a row.
For me personally, the idea, Kelly and I talked about this on pregame or on postgame on Thursday. I want, unless it's just, we see 30 save shutout from Vladar tonight, and then in a couple of days, Ersson goes in and gives up 4 again. You make the decision earlier. My idea was the month of October. The month of October, you go, and then you go from there, because that's when the schedule really starts to pick up around that Thanksgiving into the holidays. You go on the long Disney on Ice trip around Christmas, New Year that they do every year. You have to go to Western Canada. That's when I think you really start having to make the decisions. But I'm willing to give it October because I do think there's more in Sam Ersson. But at a certain point, the numbers are the numbers. They haven't been good really since Carter Hart went away. And you look at what's going on now in the AHL. Alexei Kolosov, who was the worst goalie in hockey a year ago. Listen, again, 2 starts. It is the AHL, but he was bad in the AHL last year as well. And he had a shutout the other night. He's played well in both of his games. I don't think any sort of change is imminent, but they do think Alexei Kolosov is good. They have maintained ties with him after the debacle that was last year, and I just figured he was all but gone. But they moved on from Ivan Fedotov, keep Kolosov to play in the AHL for now. So there is always the option of another guy who they think has high upside. It's why they have held on to him. All right. We are going to talk about the elephant in the room. On the other side, we're going to talk about Zeev Buium. We're going to share our pregame picks. Petey has his keys and what to watch for tonight. But first, I got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I've told you all about their 90 million users worldwide. They're almost 800,000 live stream events each year. And you know I love that early payout offer. If your team goes up by 3 goals on an NHL moneyline bet, or if you have them as part of a parlay, no need to sweat the rest of the game. You have already been marked a winner, and you can double down or, hey, come back, play the other side if you don't like the way things are going. And we have breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets, whether your initial bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, total, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone who knows a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And since we are already at the break, why not tell you about our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union? Because if your home needs a little TLC, or you're dreaming up that next big vacation, hey, maybe you want to come with us to Anaheim? Well, then you got to listen up, because TrueMark Financial's HELOC Select just got even better. Rates just dropped, making it more affordable to put your home's equity to work. If you need a new kitchen or some big repairs, or maybe just want to knock out some debt, with the HELOC Select, you can access your cash all at once or just as you need it. Total flexibility, just like a great game plan. You can make it happen today. Visit one of TrueMark's 24 branches or head to TrueMark.com/PHLY and get in the game today. Federally insured by the NCAA, Equal Opportunity Lender, NMLS 404938. All right, we are back. We are back here on Pregame with the man Petey himself, Steve Peters. And it's time to talk about everyone's favorite subject. It's something we may never get over here in Philly, because that's what we do. We harp on things that we have no control of. And it's the Zeev Buium, Jett Luchanko decision that Danny Briere made at the draft in June of 2024, when Zeev was sitting there on the board at number 12, and the Flyers decided, you know what, we're trading down to 13, and they picked themselves up. They netted themselves an extra third-round pick and allowed the Minnesota Wild and Bill Guerin to take NCAA standout Zeev Buium, while the Flyers, one pick later, went with Jett Luchanko. Jett, of course, sitting tonight, and Zeev has been, well, at least on the power play, real good. And we are looking maybe across the conference at a player a lot of fans really liked. I know in Charlie's pre-draft rankings, he had Zeev ranked like second or third in the whole draft a year ago. And you look at the numbers, 5 points, all have come on the power play. He's got 11 shots on goal. He's playing over 20 minutes a night. That -7, I know we talk a lot about how minus really, plus minus might not be the most informative stat, but when you look at, 5 points all on the power play, and then maybe some of the advanced numbers, some of the possession numbers, not quite as dominant as you might think. 5 points in 5 games. Oh, wow, that's a lot of fun. But the advanced numbers at 5-on-5, expected goals under 42.5%, scoring chances 37.5%, high danger chances 32.25%. He's spending a ton of time on defense, but on the power play, they're freaking good, and he's a big part of it. Petey, what do you think about Zeev and what he's done in this very early portion of his career?
Yeah, and this is the hard part. When you're coming in the National Hockey League, coming in as a defenseman is so much harder than coming in as a forward. And the biggest reason is, one, he's a kid. Like
He's
he's a
19,
kid.
yeah.
And you're talking about playing against big men and trying to box them out and keep them out of the blue paint. That's one, but you're talking about read of the rush. You're talking about defensive zone reads. When you're a forward, you jump over the boards and you play. I mean, I don't want to simplify it that much, but that's what you do. Jett Luchanko's got to go out there and try to create offense, keep your feet moving. Well, when you're Zeev Buium, you've got so much more to do. I've been impressed with this kid. It's a long road ahead. Like his minutes, I think you're going to see them. I think tonight you'll see him pulled back a little bit. I don't think he's going to play as many minutes in the top four that you're going to see, that you've seen over these first few games. I think he's going to drop down a pair. But on the power play, this is why you drafted the kid, because this is an offensively gifted guy that moves the puck extremely well, sees the ice extremely well, can move well on that blue line. He is going to be a driving force offensively for a long time, but we've said this about all these young guys that are coming into the league like this at defense. You know, Schaefer's another kid. You get these young defense. That offensive side comes easier than the defensive side. And I know the -7, and I watched his goals again today. I'm not hanging those on Zeev. I'm not. You know, his partner or it would get through a screen, but that is reflective of how your team defends when you're on the ice. And so I do think it's going to take him some time to be the defender they want him to be. But clearly, this kid's a stud. I mean, this team, you've got Brock Faber on the back end. Spurgeon is one of the best there is. Jonas Brodin is fantastic on the back end. You add him on the back end. This Minnesota Wild defense is really rounding out nice.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were very disappointed when Zeev Buium was there and the Flyers decided not to make the pick. And it is almost a luxury of the Wild because they have some of those defenders you mentioned, Brock Faber specifically. Like, okay, we can take maybe a little bit of an undersized, maybe a little bit of a defensively deficient, a defensive project who can come in and contribute on the power play and offensively right away. And while all of the scoring has been thus far on the power play, 3 of the 4 assists are primary assists. He has the goal as well. 4 primary points on the power play is 4 times more than the total number of Flyers power play goals. So it's not as if they couldn't use a little boost on the power play too. I am willing to give Jett Luchanko a ton of runway. It's been what he played last year, 4 games, and so he's played 7 NHL games. I'm not ready to, really rake Danny over the coals for this one. They liked the player. They selected the player. They got a 3rd round pick on top of it. I guess it made sense to him at the time, but it is just one of those looking across the conference going, what could have been when we're talking, oh yeah, Yegor Zamula back in the lineup tonight. No one all that thrilled with that decision. And you look at that power play, 43.5% to start the season. They are 10 for 23, Petey. 10 of their 15 goals that they have scored through 5 games on the power play. Overall, they're not a high-scoring team, middle of the pack, 3 goals a game, but the power play is just freaking deadly.
Yeah, and I tell you what, one of the things about this game is don't let them be on the power play. Playing 5-on-5, Minnesota is 31st out of 32 teams in goals for 5-on-5. That's not very good. I mean,
No.
I think if you could get this Minnesota team to play 5-on-5 for the Flyers, that is going to be one of the biggest drivers of this game. And I think it's going to be important, especially for Deloria getting back in the lineup. And I don't want to single him out, but he's a guy that sometimes when push comes to shove might cross that line. He's got to hold it in, be physical between the whistles, play hard during the whistles, but when that whistle blows, back off. Be physical, be hard on their opposing defense. Buium should have a really hard night going back to retrieve pucks. The forecheck should be really heavy on Zeev Buium. Be physical, be hard, but walk that fine line. And sometimes for the Flyers, when the frustrations come in, that can be difficult. So hopefully tonight they can keep that under control.
Yeah, that's the and Petey, you put it in your what to watch for. I want to get to some of these keys to your game. Stay out of the box is number 1, and that was a big part of the Winnipeg strategy we talked about the other night. The Flyers were averaging, I think, 5 times shorthanded a game, and they were able to keep it together. I think they only took the 1 penalty, but you saw it right away. They take the 1 penalty, and a few seconds later, Mark Scheifele basically puts the game out of reach. This is a penalty kill that is a work in progress, and against an elite power play like this one, stay out of the box has to be number 1.
It has to be. When you go to the NHL points right now for skaters, 5 of the top 8 on power play points, 5 of the top 8 are Minnesota Wild.
That's a considerable percentage.
Yeah, so you're looking at their power play is absolutely elite right now. It comes to Kaprizov, Boldy, they are phenomenal on that power play. And Kaprizov, as much as we've talked about him and signing the big contract, and he's getting more than a point per game right now, he's got no goals 5-on-5. 0. Boldy has 1 5-on-5. Like, this is a team you have to keep off the power play, because when they get a power play opportunity, 1 out of every 2 is going in the net. Well, not quite, but close. 1 out of every 2. That's insane. First of all, that's not sustainable for an entire season. So it's going to drop off at some point, but don't let it be tonight. So don't take penalties against the Minnesota Wild tonight. Make them play 5-on-5, and it gives the Philadelphia Flyers an advantage.
This shoot thing, your next what to watch for, your next key to the game here. It is something, it's become a joke, and it's every rink in the NHL. It's not just in Philly, but the fans yelling shoot, it can grate on people sometimes. But at this point right now, they have to let the puck go. They're trying to become more of a possession team. They're trying to pick their spots, and that was kind of a league-wide thing. We saw shot totals really drop last season, where it was, hey, how come one team is averaging 30 shots a game, where everybody was just kind of doing the Carolina thing for a few years, shoot from everywhere. And now it seems to be goalies are too good. We need to pick our spots a little better, but the Flyers just are not shooting enough.
Yeah, you look at their last in the league in shots per game. I mean, we're 32nd, and I get it. I don't want to see this team transition into what the Carolina Hurricanes do. That's not the Philadelphia Flyers way. But when the opportunity arises, you got to stop that extra pass. And I go to the skilled guys. I go to Zegras. I go to Michkov, and you go, okay, guys, when you get the opportunity to shoot, you shoot. And right now, those 2 players specifically are looking for that next pass. And sometimes it's time to be selfish. And I'm going to put that on all the defense right now for the Philadelphia Flyers, because I do think that's an opportunity for them tonight that I think they can get and generate some offense from back there. And it's not about the big slap drive from the back. It's about wristing it through so that you give your guys the opportunity in front of the blue paint to get in those tip screens, rebounds. So I really think mentality has to be, if the shot is there, take it. I don't think take it from everywhere is the answer, because you can start the other team's transition off the wall. So when you have the opportunity to shoot, you shoot. If you have people going to the net, you shoot. If you have somebody in front of the net, you shoot. And I think you have to start getting that mindset, because if you're going to be last all season, it's really going to hinder your offense as the season goes on. So they've got to shoot the puck more often tonight.
Yeah, the Flyers have 7 points from defensemen this year, but 4 by Travis Sanheim. Sealer, Juleson, and Drysdale each have 1 assist. That's you have to generate a little bit more offense from your back end than that. Sanheim has 4 shots on goal. Sealer also has 4. They're the only guys with more than 2. Like, that's not enough. When Nick Sealer is tied for the team lead in shots from the blue line, you might need to get a couple more through, and that's what we are looking at. All right, only a few minutes left. So, your last point, Petey, before we move to the bets.
Yeah, D need to join the rush. It goes along with that D trying to participate in the offense, but more importantly, this Flyer team is fast, and Rick Tocchet wants them to play fast. They got to get the puck quickly up during transition. And I tell you what, Minnesota has really struggled with reading the rush. They're giving up goals as teams are getting quickly through the blue lines. And Gustafsson has not played as well as he has to start last season, so this gives Philadelphia an opportunity. Create those turnovers between the blue lines, and most importantly, drive the net hard and get the defenseman up there to help be the late man on the shot. I do think this is one of the areas that Flyers can exploit and try to create some offense tonight.
Since you're here and we have another minute, you mentioned drive the net hard. What do you make of the way goalie interference is called, Petey? You were a video coach for so long. You were a guy who had to look at some of these things. What is goalie interference? Do you have like a definition that you would be like, oh, that's that, or no, I don't think so?
You know what? It's the mysterious question in all of hockey, especially through the video guys. And I know the league's going to say, no, it's very well defined. I'm telling you, from the video guy union, it's not. And all we did is we would try to make sure that the same calls are being consistent. So if I saw a call last night in Toronto, Montreal, and the same thing occurs tonight in my game, that they made this call, I can suppose that they're going to make the same call again. And even that wouldn't work. So I know the frustration right now on Philadelphia Flyer fans come with the overtime Sanheim goal. And that one, I know I talked about on the postgame show that night, is Yeah, unfortunately, he's not pushed in. He goes right through the blue paint. And I know Anderson reaches up, but it's still goalie interference. So that is goalie interference. But there are so many when you see those scrums and so many bodies in front of the net. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say, Bill.
I know it's a very frustrating thing. There's some that you're like, yeah, that's definitely, and the 50-50 ones seem to come down 50-50. All right,
Yeah.
let's get to the bets real quick. Pregame pick segment brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. I just have one tonight. We are going to go with Dan Vladar over 22.5 saves at -125. Flyers did a great job of shot suppression against the Jets the other night, but for the most part, they've been giving up a lot of shots, and Vladar has been up to the task, so I don't think, stopping 23 of 25 is very much out of the question. So I am absolutely going to go with Vladar over saves tonight. All right, let's get to the super chats. I always forget about pregame super chats, and then we go overtime. All right, the first one here from J.E. Frucione. It's Luchanko doesn't look even close to NHL ready. He's looked like a passenger, and even if he is not a huge liability, he isn't additive in any way. Not a great option, but he's got to go back to Guelph. I don't know if he's looked like a passenger. I think I'd like to see him if he is going, if they're considering sending him back, which I assume they are considering it at the very least. I want to see him play up in the lineup just to see what he can do with other line mates at some point. I like Grabenkin. I like Hathaway. But if you have a pure playmaker, that's when we talk about this team's need to shoot. Jett Luchanko, one shot attempt through 3 games this year. Not nearly enough. Let's get him out there with an Owen Tippett. Let's get him out there with a Michkov. Guys that you can set up and who want to grip and rip. But to this point, I don't know if he's not even close to NHL ready, but he is not a difference maker at this point, certainly.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Bill. I don't know what else you can say. He's got one shot attempt through his 3 games. That's not good enough for a guy that wants to be an offensive player. However, to your point, even if your mindset is to send him down, I think you've got to give him an opportunity to play with players that you want him to play with in the future. I think you got to give him a top 6 role, at least one opportunity before you send him down.
All right, let's see the next one here from David Shub. What's up, David? Marked safe from Adam S. crashing out about Ayers. Yes, David and Adam, both key super chatters for us. And Adam really had a vendetta last game against Sam Ersson, but we have Vladar tonight, so hopefully we do not see Ayers. All right, next one here is from Adam. You're not safe. Ayers can't stop a beach ball, Dave. I like it. I like it. All right, and our last one, I believe, is another one from David. Hoping Martone and that second round will make up for the draft reaches. Nesbitt looked better than Jett, to be honest. Jett looked better in debut last year. He was also playing further up in the lineup and just getting more minutes last year. They were finding ways to get him extra shifts, even if he was on the 4th line or in the bottom 6. He had a game where he played 17 minutes under John Tortorella last year. This year, he's playing about 8 minutes a night. There's just not as many opportunities to stand out, but certainly I'd like to see him look a little better than he has thus far. All right, that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers pregame. Make sure you're tuned in. Oh, we have another one from JH. Pregame with Petey. Let's effing go. Ready to get wild inside the X. Yes, the Xfinity Mobile Arena. Oh, another one from David. These things keep coming. If we don't trade Andre and Tippett to Buffalo for a haul, are we as dumb as them? Feel like they really might do something stupid to our advantage. Listen, always take advantage of the dumb teams. But, like, I don't know, a haul for Andre and Tippett? Like, I like these players. And if, like, you're not getting Darlene or Power. Like, that's the thing. You're not getting these guys. You're not getting Tage Thompson. Yeah, man, they might give up on Byram, and you might be able to get him for way less than they're asking for at the moment. But I just don't know. I don't know what the Flyers have to give that would make them go, yeah, man, if you can do it for Tippett and Andre, absolutely. I just don't want one of their 3rd or 4th pieces and be like, oh, well, that'll do it. Like, they need to save some of their assets for the number 1 defenseman and the number 1 center that they need. And I don't know if Buffalo's parting with any of those sorts of pieces.
Good call, Bill.
All right, another one from Lyndon. Jett with no shots on goal in 7 pro games concern. Yeah, his reticence to shoot is certainly a concern. And it's something, maybe that's what's going to get him sent back to Guelph ultimately, because every time Talk talks about Luchanko, the first words out of his mouth are, shoot the freaking puck, kid. All right. That is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Pregame. Make sure you're following us right here in the YouTube. Join us for postgame as soon as this thing goes final. We will be live. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. It's where I do all my in-game tweeting. And follow the podcast. Of course, just search PHLY Flyers. That is it for us. I am Bill Matz. That is Steve Peters. Till postgame, let's go Flyers.